If you knew that every time you took $10 out of your pocket and gave it to one of your kids, or you took $20 out of your pocket and you gave it to the water bill, that they were taking part of that money every time and they were giving it to, I don't know, the drug dealer on the corner, the criminal who was about to rob your house. He just didn't have enough gas money to get there. So actually, when you gave the $10 to your kids, they gave $5 to the criminal so they could have the gas to get to your house to rob it. Would you continue to give money to your kids if you knew that was the case? Would you find another way to not filter off the money that you're giving away if you realize that the money you're giving away is actually going to do you harm in the future? I find that leaders do that, maybe not in the exact cash transaction, but they do it on a regular basis in other forms, and that's what I want to talk about today on Leading Leaders. I'm J Loren Norris with Leading Leaders Podcast. I think when it comes to the four areas of our greatest resources, the ones that oftentimes are very hard to replenish, our time, talent, treasure, and attention, we spend a lot of time focused on treasure. And by that I mean money. Time, talent, treasure, and attention. We focus on the money, the financial aspect of what it is that we have to give away, to sell, to use, to distribute, to pay for other people's goodness, to pay for other people's opportunities. We focus on the financial part of that, but we often forget the amount of time that we give away that is never going to return to us. Time that we will give to a stranger, or time that we will give to someone who will have no reward for that time. Every other investment that we look at, we expect what we call a return on investment. If I'm going to put in $10, I want to at minimum know that half of that $10 isn't going to come back to haunt me in the form of empowering someone to do what I wouldn't want done. I don't want to give $10 to my child to have them walk out the door and give $5 so that the guy who's going to burglarize my house has gas money to get here to do it. That is antithetical to anything in life, and yet we do the same thing with time, don't we? We give time to sitting in front of the television and watching for hours, or video games, or social media tools, that they suck up our time and our attention. Which also means if they're sucking up our time and our attention, that our talent is going to waste, or our talent is not being deployed. See, it's really hard if your time is all taken up by things that have zero productivity to expect that the talent you've been given is going to use. If you're not doing anything productive, then the talent you have isn't being applied to anything productive, and therefore there's no chance that the talent you have is reproducing itself. There's no chance that you're getting a return on the investment of your talent if you're wasting your time and attention. Now let me separate time and attention just a little bit for a moment, because I do find that a lot of people have a hard time distinguishing those. In fact, most people, awareness. What is it that I'm doing at this moment? Am I paying attention to what I'm doing, or am I just going through the process, going through the motions, while my mind is a million miles away, while my concerns, my stresses, my anxieties, they're wrapped up in something completely different. I may be here physically. I may be appearing to do the work. I might even actually be accomplishing the work, and yet my attention is distracted. My awareness is somewhere else. I've got just enough invested of my intention right now to get the task done. And that's it. I'm not putting any more attention into it. I'm not putting any more focus into it. I'm not going to strain myself. I'm not going to lose any sleep over getting this task done. Now, leaders find themselves in that all the time. They don't always put their finger on it. They just realize, I got that done, but there were mistakes. I've got to hand it off to a proofreader. I've got that done, but I've got to hand it off to an auditor. And these are not just checks and balances kinds of things. These are, I'm guessing that I've made some mistakes in there. I need your help to clean it up. Now, if you're operating as a leader in a mode where your focus, your drive, your attention, your time are diluted because you're rushing from one thing to the next. You're rushing through everything that you're doing. You're not really giving it 100% of you. You're just showing up, going through the motions, moving on to the next thing. Well, then your attention's not there. And that means that your time has been wasted. And that means that your talent was not applied. And that means that your treasure is going to be impacted. Now, you would never consciously give your money to somebody who intends to do you harm. Well, unless you're the federal government, where we've tended to put weapons in the hands of enemies for decades, not realizing that they won't be an enemy today, but give them 2 or 3 or 5 or 10 years, give them a regime change, and suddenly those billions of dollars that we gave them in weapons are going to be turned around and pointed at us, not aimed in the same direction that we're aiming. That's a really big problem. But we've done the same thing in education. We've overeducated with a questionable education, with a questionable kind, type, and amount of information of probably the last 2.5 generations of people who've gotten college degrees that still can't get a job. We've invested money and time and talent and treasure and attention into a system that hasn't given the return on investment. How many people have dropped out of college? How many people started college and didn't finish versus how many just couldn't continue to pay the bill? And now we're looking at possibly forgiving student loans. Are these for people who didn't finish? Or are these for people who started and couldn't afford to finish? Or are these for people who started and finished and now they're facing $250,000 of debt and they can't get a job that pays that well? See, there's a whole lot of time, talent, treasure, and attention wasted in that process alone. And yet every day we see managers hire based on a resume, based on whether they have a degree or not. Well, if they have a degree, are you sure they want to work for you? Is the job you're offering too menial for the degree that they have? Well, in today's economy, while there's a whole lot of unemployment, there are a whole lot of people who don't want to work for less than X. And whatever that X is in your local market may be driven by the expectation or the anticipation of their earning power based on having a degree or not having one. We also have the stigma of certain job types and job skill sets, that those skill sets have gone by the wayside. You find people, we love to watch Forged in Fire, for an example. You find people who are very good at blacksmithing. They can make a knife out of any old piece of metal and tear up a tractor and make a sword out of it. That's pretty impressive. But the reality is we're losing skills like that. We're losing trades like that. And we're losing them to other countries who are not as educated but easily as competent. They don't have the same process through the education system, but they have the intellect. Or they're working closer to their original talents. And their time, talent, treasure, and attention is being applied toward a skilled trade that doesn't require a degree. It requires an apprenticeship. It doesn't require 8, 10, 12, 15 years of college. It requires getting in the job as early as you can and doing the work. See, those are two totally different things. But we've created a system where we give a whole lot of money to an education system that generates new people every year, every generation. We have a whole fistful of people who have thwarted, in my opinion, in a lot of ways, their time, talent, treasure, and attention. They've given their attention, they've given their time, they've given their treasure to an education system that has not necessarily honed their talent. The result of that is we as parents, we as leaders find, not only in the workforce, but in our home and in our common society, a slew of people who are not devoted to or dedicated to the return on investment, not only for their education, but for our society and our culture. What are they investing now? Or has it all been a selfish ambition thing? Has it all been, look at me, I got this degree and that degree and those degrees? If they're not working in them, what good were they? Are they actually beneficial to the individual or beneficial to society or beneficial to a culture? And how much money do we pour into those? Of course, there are other places that we pour in money. We have subscriptions to all kinds of different types of media, both on our mobile devices and our televisions at home. And every dollar we put into those subscriptions, they also put money back in the hands of, in my opinion, those who would rob us, if you will, those who would take from us our greatest treasure, the minds of our children. We're paying them to provide entertainment, and what we're getting instead is indoctrination. If you're a leader and you're investing in your own organization, you're investing in your team, And what you're pouring into your team in the way of a paycheck is actually paying for people to take down your company, paying for people to support your competitor, paying for people to undermine your marketing and your customer service. How long are you going to continue to do that? If what you invest in dollars, in training, in groups that are, I don't know, maybe they're taking trips or they're going to classes or they're finishing courses or they're getting certifications, you're investing in your people. You're investing in them financially. You're investing the time that they would be working for you in instead getting this training. And I have to wonder if you continued to do that and saw that every time you did that, there was a deeper impact on the negative side to your organization. Every time you send them off for sales training, they're coming back hating your company more. Every time you send them off to go to human resources training or diversity training, they come back and there's more strife in the office than there was before they left. Would you continue to see that as an investment? There's not a return on investment, there's a decay on investment. How long will you continue to do that? That's a question you've got to ask yourself. But if you begin to look around at the number of companies who have followed that path, they've invested in DIE training and things of that nature, what they're finding is that there's becoming unrest within their organization that wasn't there before. There's becoming a loss of revenue that wasn't there before. There's becoming a decay in the society and the culture around them that wasn't there before. And I have to ask you the question as a leader, is that an investment? Is that an investment? Now, you personally are going to have to ask the same question, not only of your organization that you lead, but of yourself personally. The subscriptions that I have, the places that I spend my time, the people that I spend my time around, the way that I use the talent that I have, and how much focus or attention I have in the moment, in the roles that I perform. Am I actually investing in those? Are each of those investments going to have a return on investment, or are they going to have a decay? Am I going to see that when I put the money in, what I get back is a negative result? When I put the time in, what I get back is a negative result. When I put in the attention, what I get back is a negative result. Then I'm wasting my talent. And if you just follow the Pareto principle or the Matthew principle, what you're going to find is those who have more tend to get more, and those who have little tend to get little or lose even what they have. Usually that's based on those principles: time, talent, treasure, and attention. How do you invest them? Do you use them? Do you use them for your benefit, or do you waste them? As a leader, you're going to have to figure that out for yourself. And as you do that, you also need to begin to make an assessment of the people around you. Now, I challenge you that this podcast has never been a subscriber-based. Anybody can subscribe. It's absolutely free. But the content that you're going to find here is going to challenge the way you think on a regular basis. And I challenge you to listen to more than one episode. I also challenge you to make it available to everyone that you lead. Give them an idea what kind of things you're thinking about. If nothing else, let it start a conversation. Let it begin to ask you the questions. Have I invested my time, my talent, my treasure, and my attention in a way that it's going to have a return, or is it just going to be a decay? And if you enjoy the content that's here, subscribe to it for free, share it with other people, and download some resources. There's plenty of them on the website. I hope that you'll take the time to at least ask yourself that question. Of all the things I've invested my time, talent, treasure, and attention in this year, we're just at the end of Q1. For all of those things, am I seeing a return on the investment or a decay on where I've spent those time, talent, treasure, and attention? I'm J Loren Norris with Leading Leaders Podcast for Tell It Like It Is TV. Have a blessed day.